So I have a track record with online dating sites, and I've been getting on them for a long time. And I've been banned from some, and I've been also kind of chastised on others, you know. And I've gone through the different levels of dating sites that are out there just to see what there is. And wasn't too long ago, I did go after sugar daddy sites. And the reason why is because I felt like, well, the women respond very well. Because remember, it's the other way around. That's the appeal of the sugar daddy websites. That's the appeal of being the sugar daddy. And obviously for guys, to make it much easier, the society's kind of created the kind of idea that, with materialism, with women's beauty at a young age, and with the way things are being put together, and the way that some guys treat women, for the most part, in their initial stages of relationships, that women get a little bit of a bitterness. And they just say, well, if I'm going to go ahead and get myself into something, if I'm this beautiful, young, sexy woman, then I should deserve to go ahead and be supported as such. I shouldn't have to go through the trouble of working a tough job and working minimum wage or working some menial wage job and doing all this. Like, I should be treated as such. Like the queen kind of idea, right? Queen kind of thing. I get that. And that's why the whole sugar daddy thing sounds so good. Plus, the other idea is that with some of the women that have gone to these sugar daddy websites, it's because of the fact that they felt like, well, they're not getting the kind of, they don't want to deal with young boys. There's been a demasculization, let's be honest. Some of the guys out there, much more into anime or comic books or video games. And, just, it's not that they're not into girls. It's just that it's a different thing. It's not a masculine thing anymore. And the guys are being, I have to say, they got to be a little bit less lazy when it comes to relationships and the things they need to do to get a girl's attention. Well, there's still guys that do. There are players and all. But again, the other thing too is that with online dating, it just screws everything up. I mean, if you're meeting people online, it's the risk. And for some people it is working, but then some it's not. And remember, when you're also having to go through the modes of communication now, whether it's just through FaceTime or through texting, and it's not real in-person interaction, then there's a lot of things right there where I feel like women could get screwed over. Just saying. Now, with that said, I want to bring up a story that brought up here about "Don't shame the sugar babies." He headline from the Harvard Crimson. This is a Crimson opinion writer, Gabriel C. McClellan, an Ivy League writer. So refined, so bourgeoisie. So she has this story. I was kind of fascinated by the story and how she presented being subjected to seeing a sugar daddy and his sugar baby. So she was walking back from Trader Joe's on a late Sunday afternoon, saw a bunch of things going on around her, and she saw an older man standing hand in hand with a younger woman on the bridge of the Anderson Memorial Bridge. Okay. She didn't think much of it at first, but became increasingly aware that I was noticing them over the other couples. Was it the lavish style dress, the shiny Hermès belt, the printed Burberry scarf, the leather gloves? And then she didn't know anything about the couple and had no reason to notice their pairing over the others, but she did. And she had recalled it many times in high school. Friends circled around lunch tables, half joking about the possibility of joining websites like Seeking Arrangement or Miss Travel, sugar daddy sites. So she didn't think the couple on the bridge was in a similar arrangement, but seeing their pairing drew up memories of frequent high school discussion. Often marveling at the possibility of absolving ourselves of future student debt while getting a few luxury items thrown in the mix, all for the price of companionship. She asks this stuff now. She asked in the question here, she's wondering whether our glamorization of the sugar baby relationship was wrong. We didn't strictly see ourselves as glamorizing these relationships. If anything, we thought we had a heightened respect for the sugar daddy complex. How feminist of us to support other women who took advantage of every opportunity, sticking it to the man for the sake of advancing herself. But my immediate reaction to the idea of sugar baby, like many people, was, of course, surprise, creeping into judgment. Why do we stigmatize these relationships? Even I, someone who considers herself a feminist, find myself thrown off kilter at the idea of a sugar daddy. Now, as a student figuring out how to finance college like 42 million other Americans, I am left wondering why we immediately dismiss these relationships with judgment, shock, and revulsion. Right? After all, my friends and I don't honestly consider these websites. We hide a similar disdain for sugar baby relationships behind a facade of wokeness. Perhaps we stigmatize these relationships because we conflate the idea of the sugar baby with prostitution. Though not explicitly paid arrangements for the sex, some of these relationships involve varying degrees of physical exchanges. Well, it's kind of like a long-term escort. I mean, the thing is, it's really in the eye of the people in the relationship anyway, in this whole arrangement. You know, if you want to look at it like it's a Pretty Woman kind of thing, you could. And, you know, they glorified that. But, you know, I don't know if it's so much that or not. It is arrangement where money is being paid, unless you make it where it is gifts. But then again, if you're going to go ahead and, you know, pin it down to that, then isn't a lot of relationships already based on gifts and helping to pay off bills and things like that? So if you're going to feel guilt, if you're going to start feeling guilt about this, then yeah, you're considering it prostitution, don't you? But then again, you don't have to go and do this, right? You don't have to go ahead and part like this. I think the justification for some women to go ahead and get their bills paid or to get, you know, cell phone bills paid and things, they're just trying to get some support and help, and they make it a relationship, and they actually are equal in, you know, trying to, you know, show interest in who they're with and the person that's trying to support them, then it doesn't feel so much. But if you are in the idea where you're looking to go ahead and have what she's talking about, Hermes belts or Gucci loafers, then the judgment should be on. Sugar daddies, however, don't exclusively pay their babies in gifts, as many of these relationships involve allowances. In any case, there's no reason to dole a judgment for a practice akin to our normalized use of therapists, she says. She goes on the right, though sugaring is based on the exchange of companionship, it still purports to reduce the woman to an object. Otherwise, the age differences wouldn't exist. The sugar daddy's pursuit of a sugar baby can be driven by a desire for youth, which is a physical and not personal aspect of the sugar baby. Signing up to be a sugar baby is not accepting a man's sexualization. It is fundamentally a clever means for a woman to refute the same system that perpetuates catcalling, unwarranted explicit private messages, and harassment by demanding payment. We need to stop judging women for how they choose to spend their time with whom they spend it. Well, that would be the same thing with, you know, it's one of those things where you're dealing with a lot of younger women that, you know, again, it's the advantage of beauty and men willing to put a price tag on beauty, which is wrong, and putting a woman on a pedestal, which is also wrong. And these are the mistakes of the men. I can't knock any woman to go ahead and take advantage of it. They do. And that's okay. And it's becoming much more commonplace. Now, it's not everybody. Again, there are some women that don't have that problem at all, and they just find themselves in a relationship and they're supported by somebody else, and that's how it works. Now, yeah, you could say the constructs of like, oh, gender pay gap or other things like that. Or there's other things where, you know, women are much more career driven and not worried about having children and other things. It's the psychology of it. It's the thought process of, you know, what is the woman interested in? I mean, again, you know, guys that are older that want to go ahead and get involved with someone that is promiscuous, because the women that are their own age are not promiscuous anymore, not even close. They want that. And they want a younger woman. They want, you know, especially if it's, they might have been divorced or they might just be cheating with another woman in the same case. You know, it's materialism. Doesn't say it's good, but then again, what are you going to do about it? There's just some people that feel like there's a certain need to, you know, you have your vices and things that satisfy you, right? And for young women, you know, it's not so easy for them to go and get moved along and find their way forward, you know, when the system is not helping. Like if you're telling a woman to go to college as opposed to going to a trade, because there's a lot of guys that could go to a trade or go into work for themselves, or a woman trying to be an entrepreneur. You know, most of the time, I think more women are being compelled to go to school after high school. And if that's the case, or the disadvantage for the women is if they get pregnant and they become a single mom. These are, issues or obstacles all in the place. So women do have a harder time. So I wouldn't be the one that's going to judge back. I don't think we should. I think, but if you're going to feel like there's an issue, again, but that's the same thing goes for women that might go into stripping or might go into porn or whatever they might do, sexualizing themselves or going on an OnlyFans page and and creating one. I'm reading a book right now from a lady named Ariel Levy. She wrote a book called Female Chauvinist Pigs, and the idea of the sexualization. Women acting more like a man when it comes to sex and when it comes to their, the relationships they have and how they present themselves. And, it's the idea of where the sexualization of women, used to be so much in public in front of our faces 15, 20 years ago. And now it's not. Because the days of the Girls Gone Wild and like Jerry Springer, Maury Povich and all these different shows, we'd have like flashing, all these different clothes in front of us, just women in tight clothes and boobs all hanging out. We're not seeing that so much on television as we are online. Because what happened was whatever was in the mainstream that we could see right in front of us, that all went online. They just did. Our pop stars had a real sexual appeal, super sexual appeal. You had, the reality shows that were very extra sexy, the Joe Millionaires, The Bachelor was up in the start, things like that. And, the kind of people that got, famous, the Kardashians, the Paris Hiltons, things like that came into play. And you know what? It's changed. Now it's not so much like that anymore because it all went online. And so it's still there. And there are going to be still quite a few women that feel like they need to use their beauty to advance themselves until they get the wisdom when their beauty starts to fade somewhat and they feel like they need to do something else. But it's not an easy thing. And I don't ever think that women have it easy. I don't. Not in a lot of cases. So me being sympathetic, your Uncle King of Podcasts here. How about that? Okay, I'll leave it there. And I'll talk to you next time.